to improve on the available policies. I mean, we have some government officials here. Probably there are other things. There are things to take home for them.
Um, with regards to policy, we have all the right ideas to take agriculture or agribusiness from where it is now to where it should be. Our major challenge has been implementation of those policies. I think we have to go back to the basics and ask ourselves, what do we see as the end game here? Because it's obvious that we see the end game, look, explore and evaluate, take decisions that will help us to get from where we are now to where we want to get to. I see very, very clearly that it seems that there's a gap between creating these that are supposed to implement. I want to say, for instance, in the area of science, and he actually was able to discuss across a wide spectrum. So much that we know established, but is not actually contributing to productivity on the ground. And as a result of this, grappling with problems that we already have solutions to. The government goes ahead and but we don't have enough of the conversation talking about the processing of what is going to come from those tractors, the logistics for the tractors, the actual market. For instance, as a business, if I'm going to start a business, I start from the market and I work my way backwards. A lot of us ask me every time, I want to go into farming and the primary production, and I'm saying much more that can be done in farming that is probably even as popular than just the farming. So I think this message is, but I want to suggest we need to have a central agency managing, and it should not be a government agency per se. To create that agency should create benchmarks. And it is those benchmarks, thank you. And so it does not change every time a new minister comes on board. In the 34 years I've been in agriculture, I have worked or met at least 7 ministers in this space. And every minister starts and wants to redesign what he has met on ground. However, if we have a central coordinating agency that is charged with the responsibility of scientific research coordination, with the efficiency of our agriculture, with regards to environmental issues, with regards to coordination of research and development work across the whole spectrum, with regards to relationships with the private sector, with regard to socio-economic development of the 70% of our population that are in rural, that agency should now create benchmarks for development over the next 20 years. And what each minister does when he comes and what he's evaluated on is how many of those milestones he's able to achieve in his own tenure based on that single strategic master plan, redefining and restarting this process for something as critical as agriculture every time we have a government change will not work for a long term sustainable business like agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I might summarize what you said, my takeaway is we have wonderful policies in place. I think Nigeria is one of the countries that have some of the best policies across the globe. But one of the problems, like you rightly pointed out, is implementation. And also the other one you made mention of, issue of policy instability. Policy matters. New government comes on board and want to introduce new policies and abandon that of its predecessor halfway. Let me move to Mr. Olusanya, sir. I know that recently FAMIC entered into a strategic partnership with Obasanjo Farm to help dairy business and outsourcing in Nigeria. Can you tell us more about your recent collaborations with farmers in Nigeria?
Um, very much. Our journey in dairy started. Danone is known globally for dairy. They're one of the biggest dairy companies in the world. So we started with a government policy, like I mentioned earlier, with basically forcing dairy companies to go into dairy farming. We said to ourselves, we are not a dairy producer, we're a dairy processor. So what we said, we had three pillars of commitment. One, we started a model dairy farm, which is set up in Ogun State. We'll do dairy capacity building for the farmers, and we also do milk collection. The milk collection will be in two phases. First with the small older farmers, and then with what we call the gold farmers. We know for sure the small older farmers will take a longer process, and with all the challenges in terms of capacity, in terms of capital, will be challenging. So we felt the fastest way to go, and you know when you want to grow in business, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go very far, you go together. So we looked at who had that capacity that would basically work with us in terms of capacity, in terms of capability, in terms of the commitment. And then we approach Obasanjo Farms, and we had this community say, you know what, we are not basically a dairy farming company, but want somebody that will basically go into dairy on our behalf, right? What that meant is you basically have the cows, right? And then we just uptake from you. So what we did was when we approached him, and then it came in a very wild way to us. We wanted someone that has the land. Land is fundamental to agriculture, which you all know. So he said to us to give us a 2,500 hectares, which was whooping to us, right? Our farm in Ogun State is less than 10 hectares. So we are getting 2,500 hectares, which is massive, bigger than what the minister is 250 hectares. So we know it was massive. And then we said to ourselves, you're doing 2,500 hectares with 1,000 cows. It was going to be a big leap for us. So we said, you know what? What you will do for us is we'll give you, as a way of commitment, we are going to basically give him a seed offering of first 100 pregnant heifers. These heifers will give you more in terms of volume, right? It meant local cows in Nigeria will give you 1 liter, 2 liters. If you're lucky, you get 2.5 liters. But these cows that we're bringing in, going coming from Egypt to give you close to 13 to 15 liters a day. So if you know you can get that capacity, it means you're going to grow. So we enter into that relationship with that massive expanse of land with the cattle growing, and then we know in another 2 to 3 years, we'll basically be able to unfold our local sourcing agenda, which is basically increasing our import dependency. I'm sure you know locally now we import practically everything in Nigeria, including milk. So milk is a major component for us as a producer. So if you can localize milk sourcing coming from Obasanjo farms into our production, it means you're going to create more employment. You're going to increase the pressure coming from FX. You're going to basically look at basically growing a value system that can grow and sustain the economy. If you look at the value chain for agriculture, apart from eggs, there is another big daily cash producing. So if you sell a liter of milk per day, which is almost 250, 300 naira per liter, is everyday money for you, both for the smallholder farmers and for the big farmers. So you got a value chain of people that grow pastures, right, which is basically small that grow pastures on behalf. People that will have the milk, then will basically uptake the milk and will basically sell to our consumers. So that's the whole 360 value chain of basically growing to develop the dairy sector in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olusonya. That's really enlightening. And I believe that maybe by the end of the session, maybe you have one or two other people you enter into strategic partnership with here. Let me move to the man sitting next to me, Mr. Luto. As the founder of Pricely, sorry, Price Pally, sorry for that, Price Pally, yeah, which is one of the leading e-commerce, of course, company in Nigeria within the agri sector. Can you tell us how technology can help connect farmers and consumers seamlessly? And how has Price Pally been able to integrate different technology tools in their business, in your business, basically?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. So, at Price Valley, what we're trying to do is, bring together shorten the distance between farm and fork, between, the farmer who farms and the consumer who eats it. And technology has done a lot because with tech, we're able to streamline so many activities that wouldn't make commerce as easy as it is for us right now. So the basic technology like your e-commerce platforms. So we have a website, have apps, we have a chat bot as well that enables people shop online and have their orders delivered to them. But beyond that, we are moving to, I mean, with a lot of people shopping on our platform, we are able to gather a lot of data around what they're eating, produces that they love to buy, things like that. And because, that data informs us, we can always use that data to even predict the future of what people will buy from us in the next month, next couple of months, years, and all of that. And that we are looking at a situation where farmers can now farm specifically for price value, specifically for consumers who buy on our platform. That way, you are reducing waste. That way, you're bringing a lot more efficiency. Just to circle up of what everybody else has been talking about, as to making sure that farmers are able to produce smartly. So technology goes a long way, and it's very imperative for everyone here, every actor in the space, to find ways by which tech can lift a lot of heavy work instead of you struggling to get things done. Tech can take a lot of those pains away and make you grow faster. And in our part, it's a pillar. We have three pillars. It's technology, partnerships, and data. So with the technology that we have and the data that we are gathering, we can build sustainable partnerships with almost everyone in the room, from the Obasanjo farms for milk, for instance, or Farmer Samson here who farms a lot of vegetables and all that. With the data that we have, we know what we want to get, and that's how technology. I'll let others also speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Technology, partnership, and data. That's my takeaway from that. Let me go to Mr. Elude. I mean, like the Honorable Minister rightly pointed out, agriculture is one of the major components of our GDP. And we all know that the more we export our agricultural products, or even the finished products, that is, if we're able to add value to the raw materials, it will help us in balancing our trade with international counterparts, and it of course help us solve some of the FS liquidity problem we are having in the market at the moment. What do you think are the major challenges farmers face or agricultural producers face when it comes to exporting agricultural products from Nigeria?
Thank you, John. So I represent Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC. We are arguably the largest food and agro-allied business in Nigeria. We process inputs into finished products. I mean, I could sit here and wax lyrical about infrastructure challenges, how long it takes for you to move the products from wherever to the seaport or airport, wherever you export from. But I would like to speak from our perspective as a processor. And for me, the biggest challenge is competitiveness. You being competitive where your export market is. And I would give a very, very live and real example. As at 2015, Nigeria used to export $35 million worth of pasta. We produce pasta. Export $35 million worth of pasta to Ghana. Ghana is just next door. But by 2020, that had reduced to just $1 million simply because they couldn't afford our pasta. Now, how did that come about? Do a summary. So, majority of the pasta that lands in Ghana comes from Turkey. Interesting. Turkey also imports a lot of their wheat and it's converted to pasta. We also import wheat here. We don't produce enough locally, so we import and then we convert to pasta. But you find that from a Nigerian perspective, for every dollar that you spend to import wheat, you spend an extra 22% paying levies, taxes, and all of that. So that increases your cost. Now, you haven't added your cost of finance, you haven't added your margins, which, of course, your shareholders expect some returns. And then you had on top of that power. You don't really rely on power from the grid. You get power from either diesel or gas. Now, it will interest you that Band A, I'm sure we know what Band A is. Band A is more expensive than diesel today, even from a manufacturer's perspective. So when you load all of that and you try to export, you are not competitive. So at the inception of AFCFTA in 2021, we did a study and we could only sell our pasta in one African country, Ethiopia. In all other countries, we were not competitive. So interestingly, what has helped, so currently we export pasta, we export pasta to Ghana, but we couldn't export our premium product because it would land too expensive. So we had to downgrade and then export some of our value products. What has also helped is that somehow Turkey stopped offering subsidy. I'm sure subsidy comes up again. Turkey stopped offering subsidy to pasta exporters, and then we were able to compete. So being able to compete where your export market is, I believe it is the singular biggest challenge that exporters face. And that's from the finished goods, also from the intermediates. So for example, we export soybean meal to France and Europe. You find that, I'm sure we remember the pyramids, groundnut pyramids, and all of that. One of the reasons why that went away was aflatoxin, because at some point science said you couldn't consume that much aflatoxin. Now we export soybean meal. We have to go all the way from the planting to the harvesting to the toll milling that we do to ensure that the level of aflatoxin in our soybean meal is within the acceptable range. Now, all of that have cost implications. Now, what has worked for us is that we export non-GMO, so that has some premium. So you can imagine competing with all of that cost with soybean meal that is coming from Brazil. So competitiveness for me is a major issue. We have what we have to do internally, being efficient with your operations, your sourcing, being innovative with your packaging and all of that. But government also needs to work with us to be able to enable us to be more efficient and be competitive out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, from the look of things, it seems as if Turkey is a strong competitor to a lot of agro businesses in Nigeria, like His Excellency rightly pointed out earlier on about the company he visited in Turkey, and the man was telling him that his next vision is to supply eggs to Nigeria. And they are also competitor to flour mill in our neighboring country. I mean, as a technology enabler for agricultural business, can you share a successful example of collaboration between farmers, businesses, and quality makers in a way that can help improve technology and market strategies in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. So, a successful policy in Nigeria that has worked for farmers and the businesses in Nigeria with the agricultural transformation agenda. Now, interestingly enough, I know Baba was speaking about the fact that Baba in his time started the whole of Operation Feed the Nation. It was awesome. However, at some point, that was but the reality of Operation Feed the Nation started something that was important, which was planting a seed that agriculture is not just a tool to feed people, but much more than that, it's an avenue to develop the economy. So if you look at the rural transformation agenda, the first thing it seeks to do is first, it was able to become that invite private sectors into agriculture, meaning the government quickly realized that our job is not farming. Our job is to create that enabling environment where the private sectors are thinking of, I want to come into this space. I want to come into agriculture. That's one. Number two was the AFA was also supposed to be something that helps to ensure that we fight post-harvest losses. I was very glad that the Honorable Minister also talked about that when he said, oh, they're looking at how to repurpose nine-foot buildings and all of that so that they are able to ensure that the food waste that happens between the farmers and the city can be reduced drastically. That is another one. Next part of this was value part, like my bro here said, which is it is one thing to produce the raw material, but it's another thing to add value to that raw material because with that, you have exponential gains that helps the farmers, helps the consumers, and of course, helps the economy. Next is rural development. Very, very important because you realize right now there is brain drain from the rural areas to the urban areas. And the reason for this is because every young person is looking for the next big thing in the city. And the only way to bring these people back to the village is not just about shouting agriculture, but the village must be able to have or offer the same incentives that they get in the city. The guy in the city wants to go to the club. There should be a form of club in the village. The guy in the city wants to go and watch football match and all of that in two areas. Something like that needs to also be in the village. And the only way you can push that is through agriculture. And that's where my brother from the dairy was talking. He said, Baba offered 2,500 hectares. I am not that was not in the city. But what you are going to realize that that 2,500 hectares that is offered in the village will bring about rural development. The same thing Baba talks about the 70-year-old father who was the oldest. But just because he went back, filling stations came into the place. So rural development plays a key role. Next is also inclusion for financial services. Baba basically about that it is not enough to have access to funds, but there must be access to affordable funds, such that before you realize that today the CPN through the instrument of NISA has been able to bring about the single-digit lending, Mastercard Foundation through the likes of FCMB providing single-digit lending, then of course access to markets. Very, very key access to market because the farmer is not as rich as his production. No, the farmer is as rich as the market he sells to. So if there is no good buying power in the market, the farmer can increase his productivity as much as he wants. He will still be broke. That is why today you have people who are hungry in the village, but yet the food finds its way to the city because the farmer understands I am as rich as who I sell to. And this is what this policy was meant to provide to ensure that the farmer can earn as much as it is possible from whatever their output is. Thank you.
Uh, um, Thank you very much. I mean, that's extremely enlightening because I didn't even advert my mind to some of the things you pointed out, not just financing, cheap financing, if possible, single digit financing, access to market. These are extremely important to drive the sector. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I can't go beyond this. I mean, we still have a lot of questions, but uh, the moderator is already chasing us. I don't know.
I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to keep to time. I'm sure there'll be time for some more questions afterwards. Let's put our hands together for our wonderful panel discussion, Farm to Table, Enhancing Market Access and Building Resilient Food Systems. Let's ask our special guests to take a picture. Please, the organizers and the special guests, could we please join the speakers on stage? Honorable Commissioner, Your Excellency, please kindly join us on stage. earlier, Baba, he referred to the 20 billion exports bill that Nigeria faces every year. So we hope that as we start to build upon our agricultural value chain, that number will go down significantly and those resources will be spent locally. We definitely have the potential to feed ourselves. We just need to figure out ways to do it and to be more efficient with our agricultural value chain.